So in this game, we end up sending a Queen of Pain and a Tuskar into the offlane against a pretty strong tri-lane. It ends up being a Dazzle, a Spirit Breaker, and a CK. We picked the Queen of Pain kind of early in the game, and so they kind of countered with these sort of like with the Spirit Breaker was one of their counters, and then the CK was also one of their counters. So we'll speed this up. I'll play it a little quicker, and then I'll like replay certain sections that seem good. But here I'm not skilling, right? Because there's no reason to skill your spells until you use them. They decided not to contest top rune, and so I just ended up blocking my wave. And you're kind of wanting to do the same thing with Queen, which is establish sort of a lane equilibrium here, and then just bully the melee hero in lane. So here, Spirit Breaker just like walks up, and so we end up fighting him for a little bit. I end up skilling Blink because they go on me, and I blink away. Unfortunately, my Tuskar gets killed. And so now what you start to feel is why Queen of Pain is strong against melee cores, right? He goes up for a last hit, I choose to hit him. I don't have Shadow Strike at this point, but I'm just hitting him. And I'm bullying a melee hero in lane. And this is kind of like ideally when you want to play Queen. You want to play Queen against melee heroes most of the time, because that's who she's good against. She's not very good against other lane dominators. She actually gets kind of bullied by them. So there I should have auto-attacked and then Shadow Striked, but I'm putting out a lot of pressure on him, and I chose to Shadow Strike when he went for a last hit. And so like now, we're looking to put out aggression, and here. So this is a time where I'm thinking about being aggressive, and I like blinking is the core of the hero. If you learn to blink well with the hero, you're going to do well. If you blink poorly, you're going to die instantly just because she has low defensive stats. So you've got to become very good about where to blink. And in this case, right, I've judged this scenario by saying CK is too low to participate in this fight, and Dazzle is in a bad position. He's also, like, the CK is also blocked off by shards. So I know that it's likely I'm going to run into a Spirit Breaker who probably just pulled, but I'm still going to blink aggressively because I'm going to want to try and kill this Dazzle. But unfortunately, I blink too short. I should have blinked to where the Dazzle wants to run rather than blinking to where the Dazzle is. And what ends up happening is because my blink was bad, CK is actually able to catch up with me before I get all the auto attacks off, and I die because of it. So it was a good time to blink, but my bad blink placement ended up getting me killed. So we'll fast forward a bit till I come back into the lane, and we come back. So I come back into the lane, I just TP immediately top, and I elect to finish my magic one. I TP immediately top, and because Dazzle has been dead and is unlikely to be able to afford a TP at this point, I assume that this situation is a fight without Dazzle. And so if Dazzle's there, this is a completely way too aggressive blink because we just get Shadow Waved and we both die. But I'm assuming Dazzle's not going to be there. So I blink in and I go for this kill on CK. And I end up killing him. We lose our Tuskar for it, but killing their safe lane carry is a pretty good decision. Now here, the Spirit Breaker continues to go on me, but I just play defensively, and then I kind of outplay him a bit by using my salve. Again, I'm not expecting Dazzle back because he doesn't have a TP. He's probably walking out to lane right now. We can look and see where he went. He actually went mid, so he's not even there. But I was able to outplay him a little bit, and I end up getting a kill on him because I sort of outplayed him with my salve. And so you can blink aggressively, but blinking aggressively, you have to use your game sense as well as just kind of like your overall Dota sense in terms of how much damage you can deal. And what's nice is I follow up with some nice move and attacks. It allows me to get 3 attacks off rather than 2. And that's the difference between him living or dying. And then he knows my blink's on cooldown, so he goes aggressive on me, and we just fight. And then there's some really nice vision abuse here. He was trying to stun me around there, but he couldn't see me. But I'm abusing the fact that he can't see around the trees. Dazzle shows up, I create my space rather than blinking immediately because I want to continue to fight. We end up getting a kill on the CK because of it. So using your blink well is very difficult on this hero, and you'll kind of get used to it. Here I get charged by Spirit Breaker, and I think a lot of players at this stage, when they see a Spirit Breaker charging right here, would be to blink immediately. But instead, you just want to tank the charge. Right? Like, I saw it coming and I had time to blink away, but I waited until the charge hit and then I blinked. And that's how I got out. So I think this replay demonstrates that really well, and it also kind of shows how to play the aggro queen in that lane. The other game I want to talk about is a game where I played 4-position queen, and I think is a really good illustration of counter ganking and how powerful counter ganking is on queen. So this was a ranked game that I played. It was a solo ranked game, and this is, I believe, this game. No, it wasn't this game. It was this one? I think it's this one. Yeah, this is the replay. So in this game, again, we go in offlane dual lane, and like I said, queen is best in the offlane dual lanes where there's a melee hero with you, just by the nature of how the hero works. And if we looked at the draft, which I think is kind of important, we'll fast forward until my pick. So this is the draft I was looking at, and I picked Queen of Pain last into this draft. And the reason I picked Queen is if you look at their lineup, they really only have one hero with lockdown. Queen's like okay versus Ember, but these two heroes have trouble locking down Queen. Zeus obviously has no disable, so can't lock down Queen at all. They have one Queen counter, but I think Queen's very good against 3 other heroes. So I just picked it with the intent of going offlane. And I'm actually going to go offlane with Elder Titan this game, because some guy on my team run random Elder Titan, and it seems pretty good. The last hero that they're picking was, I think, a support. But what I was also seeing is they end up picking Windrunner. Oh, that's right, because it was the highest MMR guy. We expected him to pick like a mid or an offlane. Though Tusk could have gone offlane. But what we end up getting is we end up getting like a pretty ideal queen matchup, which is we're going to have 2 heroes against their 2 heroes in the safe lane, and both of their heroes are melee. And then Spirit Breaker's kind of going to roam in. But they have a lot of melee heroes, and Queen kind of thrives in that matchup. So here we fight at the rune. Again, I'm not leveling up my skills. I'm not leveling up my skills because I don't know which skill I'm going to need. And fast forward through this game is paused. It stays paused for a little while, so. Yeah, there we go. And there ends up being a big rune fight here. And this is a situation where I get as many auto attacks off as I can. I skill my blink, and I blink away to safely. So that's where like not skilling ends up saving me, because I would have been trapped had I skilled Shadow Strike and most likely given up First Blood. And then in this game, I'm more of a 4-position. We end up farming the Elder Titan rather than me, and that's completely fine. But what we're looking to do, and this is what you look to do as an offlaner in general, is you look to deal with the support first, and then you fight the carry. So I'm looking for the Tusk to fight the Tusk, and I'm looking to just deal as much damage to the Tusk as possible. And the goal is to zone him off of protecting the carry, and then you can harass the carry. And that's kind of what we're going to do for a little while. But Tusk is scared of all the damage I deal to him, and since he's not bothering me, I go to harass the carry. Then Tusk shows up, and again, we go fight the Tusk. Or here I just end up fighting yesterday. But the point of that was mostly just to use my spells. We're just getting out damage as much as possible. I take Shadow Strike. Shadow Strike the low carry. The reason I did that is I'm looking at their regen, because you always want to consider regen when you're fighting people, and he only had Tangos as well as Tusk, who didn't have any regen. So at this point I'm just trying to get out as much damage as possible and sort of win the lane that way. But here we end up playing pretty aggressively for a little bit of time. And again, I'm just getting chip damage wherever I can. Looking for moments where people are going for last hits, as those are the best times to be aggressive. Cancel a clarity on Tusk. And we'll go back here. Go back to 1 speed. So Ember gets aggressive. You're almost certainly going to be charged at this point. But we end up fighting because we think we can kill them. I stand a little bit too close, and then I overestimate the attack speed slow on the Sigil, so I end up dying too, when it would have been just like a 1-for-1 trade, where we trade the carry for the Elder Titan, and that probably would have been better. But here, for example, like, I'm walking out to lane, rather than TPing out instantly. 1, because we have a hero getting experience, and 2, because I kind of want to save my gold. I'm not going to be farming very many creeps, and I'm going to want gold for TP as well as mana. So I just kind of walk out to lane, and again, more pressure, more aggression. I elect to go 2 points in Shadow Strike because they had a low amount of regen in lane. Which I think was the best decision this game. But since I'm so poor, since I'm not getting a lot of items, I like to go Magic Wand first, because it gives you a little bit more mana. I'm keeping the Mango. The Mango was mostly so that I would have enough spells. They look to go on Elder Titan here. They kind of screw up their spells. I think they would have gotten the kill if they'd played a little bit better, or comboed their spells a little more effectively. But again, bully the lane. And then Queen's one of those heroes that you want to bully the lane, and then when they leave, you farm. And since I'm more of a support this game, like, I'm okay like giving up a little bit of more farm and just pushing. So here, I lose all my mana. I decide to go back to base, which is a pretty good decision, I think. But I get a TP scroll, because this is the time when Queen's going to be wanting counter ganking, and I walk out to lane. Because I want to keep that TP scroll to be able to counter gank lanes, especially against a lineup with Spirit Breaker. So if a big fight breaks out mid, for example, I can show up and clean up kills. Mostly because I'm showing up the target and then I'm blinking. So here, for example, so we'll go back 10 seconds. So I see a big fight bottom. They're diving really hard. I TP in, and we get some nice coordination from the team. Kind of waste my Shadow Strike there. Probably didn't need to Shadow Strike him. And I just blink aggressively because they're retreating, and we end up fighting. And Slardar got some really nice stuns there on low HP. And then this Cold Embrace ends up saving me. And like, this is the idea when you're playing Queen. Tusk kind of messes up there, and I live. I think he expected his spells to kill me. But that's what you're looking to do on Queen, is you counter gank, counter gank, counter gank, counter gank. And, you know, my last hits aren't going to be that great this game, but in a lot of ways, because I pressured the safe lane so much, and I counter ganked and got a bunch of kills for my team, I can actually snowball a win that way. And now, in terms of items, like, most of the time when you play support Quap, you're not actually going to be able to build Orchid. But when you build Orchid, build it with the thought in mind of what heroes can I kill with Orchid. And so what I'm looking at this game is that the Ember Spirit is extremely poor. Right? Like, the Ember Spirit has a Poor Man's Shield, a Ring, and a Magic Wand. And so this kind of opens my window for Orchid to be effective. Right? Because I'm going to target the Ember Spirit as well as other heroes, Zeus, Windrunner, Tusk, those kinds of heroes with Orchid. But if I know that he's not going to finish a Manta style for a very long time, then it's good. This is also a skill that I didn't talk about very much with Quap in my guide, and I probably should have. But when you're using your spells, you also can choose to use them in a different order, which is to use your ultimate and then blink and scream. I kind of screwed it up here. I didn't blink. I like canceled my blink animation for the scream. But it's a way that you can kill targets that have high mobility as well as high, like a disable, for example, before you're able to get your spells out, because the cast time is very long on your ultimate. So what you do is you line up the ultimate from the fog, and we'll go back and we'll watch this again from the perspective of Ember, and he does not see this coming. So we watch this from Ember. He's got fog on his side. You can see nothing shows on the map. and then all of a sudden he gets hit by an ultimate. And that's how you can pick off someone like that who has a Remnant. Now, I screwed up the combo, but that's the general idea with that. So we'll switch back to my perspective. But you can see this game. I'm basically supporting heroes and trying to get kills wherever I can through the use of counter ganking TPs. And that's probably the most effective use of TP scrolls on Quap. So let's see. That's pretty much all I want to show you from that game. And then let's check out one last game where I play a solo offlane Quap. Oh, this was on my other account, so I've got to look it up via my offlane account, which is Tough Luck. And I believe it was this game. Yeah, this was the game. So again, this game I end up picking last. And I'll talk about why Queen was good in this draft and why I picked her. It's too far. So this draft, for example, if I'm looking at their draft, they lack lockdown. Like, Bane's pretty good lockdown, but he's actually weak lockdown in lane. And Io is also weak lockdown in lane. And so when I'm looking at that, I'm seeing two supports that can't deal with a blinker, and then they pick a melee hero. So I'm looking at a hero I can bully in lane, right, and two supports that can do nothing, as well as a core that can do nothing to stop me from blinking away. So I can play hyper aggressive in a lane like that. Slardar kind of counters me, and that's okay. And then Bane counters me when he hits 6, but that's a little wise off. And then I'm a pretty good counter to Shadow Fiend because I do damage through BKB. And this game is more of like a solo offlane for me. Which is fine. But you can see in this game, I ended up getting pooled 2 tangos by the support. The support randomed, and so he just pooled a bunch of tangos to everyone. And I elected to go 2 GG branches and a lot of regen, because I'm planning on fighting this Bane a lot. He even gave tangos to our mid, see? So, he's just a really nice guy. But here I show up for the rune fight. Not skilling, because I might need a specific skill. I don't even skill blink there, because I just didn't end up needing it. Got a couple of auto attacks off, which is fine because I have a ton of regen. Like, my goal is to try to out regen them. And so here, I come to the off lane, and Bane's not bothering me too much, so I can test some of Slark's last hits. And again, I'm not skilling anything. Bane ended up pulling here. I don't know why he did that, but it basically allowed me to contest him, and I end up stealing this creep wave. And this is enough to get me level 2. Earth Spirit shows up, he roams top, which is nice. This is kind of like that good Quap plus a melee hero combo that I like. And I start fighting the Bane. And the reason I fight the Bane is I want to fight the support so that the support doesn't help the carry. And we get a lot of really nice trades. Slark dives the tower trying to save his carry. Bada bang, like, that was a really good trade for us. And now, because I've pushed them out of the lane, I farm. Earth Spirit, on the other hand, decides to dive. And ends up feeding first blood to this lane. So overall, this laning phase hasn't gone the best, but you can see how I'm playing Quap, which is annoy them, push the safe laner out, or push the support out of lane, and then bother the carry and screw up his farm. And then because of that, I'm actually able to get my own farm. I elect to go boots first, so I had enough gold for a bottle there, and bottle's a very good item on Quap. And I'd recommend bottle in a lot of situations. But I elect to go boots mostly because Bane has very high movement speed, which is 315. And my movement speed, which is 295, is slow. So I'm basically getting boots because these two heroes are fast. Slark is fast as well, 305. So they're both faster than I am, and I think the value of having boots is better than having the bottle in this situation, especially because I'm not skimping on regen yet. Here I kind of abuse the mobility of Blink, and I actually pull this wave, which is something you like to do in the Radiant offlane. And I think part of the reason Quap, as a 3 position, so as an offlaner, is much better in the Radiant than she is on the Dire, mostly because of that pull. On the Dire, if you start to get zoned out, there's not much you can do to recover it, but on the Radiant, you can pull like that to recover it. So I think that's pretty good. But that's kind of what it is. I end up sort of playing against these guys and playing aggressively. What you'll see is, like, if they go on me, I just blink away. And I'm annoying the Slark. At this point, Slark is out of regen. And Bane went for a Soul Ring. He is also out of regen. And so I've created a very good lane for myself just by fighting them, winning the regen war. And then that helps me to win. And, like, even here, because I think that Slark likely went back, I'm okay chilling at 180 HP. Like, this is the kind of lane you want to be in as a queen, where you feel safe in lane at 180 HP. All I have to do is just keep enough space away from this Bane so that he can't brain sap me. That's pretty much it. We'll fast forward this replay because I think there's a couple of good things to show. But here I see that they pull, go to harass the pull. And you can see, like, as a solo offlaner, I'm creating a lot of pressure on their safe lane just because I saw a good matchup and I took it. You can see in this matchup, I actually elected for one Shadow Strike. One because Slark can just get rid of it with his Shadow Strike, with his Dark Pact. But you can see, like, this is the ideal lane for a Quap, right? Like, I get sleeped by Bane, and Slark doesn't even bother to start fighting me because he realizes there's no way we can kill a hero that can just blink away. That's the ideal situation that you want to be in. But I elected for one Shadow Strike because Slark can just Dark Pact it off. And Bane, while it's good against Bane and trading for Bane, I'm looking to do as much damage to Slark as possible. And the Scream ends up being pretty meaningful for that. So again, I get these items online, I get my bottle. I think I end up bottle crowing here. And then the next item I look to pick up is a TP. Right around 6 minutes is where you're going to start looking for those counter ganking opportunities. The mid TA actually gets mad at me here for counter ganking, but you can see I pick up the TP. And this is what I like about offlane Mango, is that you're not going to have as much farm, so you're not likely to have treads done by 6 minutes, but 6-7 minutes, that's when the aggression starts to happen. So you're going to want to be able to counter gank. And one of the ways you can do that is just by having the enchanted mango. Gives you enough mana to use your Scream for free, essentially. And in this game, for example, instead of the aggression being elsewhere and me TPing into it, they TP into my lane and we get kills basically here. He gets away from a nice IO play. But that's basically it. How to lane Quap, how to play Quap. I end up getting a DD here and get a nice kill. We actually think I get 2 kills. No, 1 kill. Here I'm stalling for my blink, and I end up getting away. But that's basically it for my guide to Quap. If you have any questions or comments that you want to see, I also have a couple of Quap games uploaded, and I'll link those at the end of this video that you can look at and see me play. I play a lot of Quap in the off lane. I play some in the mid and then some in the safe lane. But very fun hero, very versatile, and I wish you the best planner. Good luck.